Hello there and welcome to an impromptu episode of the Blood Red podcast with me, Joe Rimmer. I'm here today to discuss a brilliant, thrilling win at Anfield last night over PSG. And it is a bit of a mini podcast today, and not just because James Pearce is here. We've also got tall Paul Gorst joining me to discuss the game. James, we'll start with you. You were there last night. Where does that rank alongside great European nights, especially for group games? Because it felt like just a special night all round, didn't it?
Yeah, I think in terms of group games, it has to be absolutely right up there. I think, of course, you have to factor into the night what was at stake, and it was only 3 points and getting a group campaign off to a winning start. But I thought in terms of the actual performance level, that was as good as anything Liverpool produced en route to Kiev last season. I mean, Klopp spoke about it in the build-up. This is a PSG team built to win the Champions League. You think they had £400 million worth of firepower in that three-man front line. It was just a massively impressive performance. It wasn't a backs to the wall job. It wasn't Liverpool weren't lucky. Of course, they made it a lot harder than it should have been with the way in which they relinquished that 2-goal lead, and then for Firmino to provide the dramatic finale. But yeah, it would have been an absolute travesty if Liverpool hadn't won that game, because they were better than PSG in all departments. I thought defensively they coped magnificently with Neymar, Cavani and Mbappe. The midfield, people beforehand, some people would have been questioning Klopp's wisdom of picking that midfield, but he got it absolutely spot on. I thought to a man, those three in midfield excelled and won every battle going. And then the front three, I thought Sturridge was, again, he's not Firmino. He doesn't give you everything that Firmino gives you. Nobody else does. But considering his lack of match action this season, for him to come in and perform like that in a game of that intensity was hugely impressive. And yeah, it was a night that will live long in the memory.
As James says, that PSG team built to win a Champions League, albeit they're a top heavy team, but Liverpool just overwhelmed them from the minute go, didn't they?
They did, yeah. And I think it kind of shows the value of the work ethic that Klopp's put into his team, because comparable numbers, Mbappe, Neymar and Cavani, Salah, Firmino and Mane, basically I think they'd scored, what was it, 99 goals each as a front three,
wasn't it?
PSG had 100
yeah.
and Liverpool 99, since the start of last season.
So, similar numbers, and Liverpool's front three just worked so much harder, and they set the trap, don't they, with Firmino leading the way, and they kind of press a lot better and PSG just didn't bother with that at all. Neymar, he kind of flitted in and out, and he did that little piece of skill early on, didn't he, where he kind of bypassed 5 players inside the first minute, and it was a bit of like, oh, okay, he seems like he fancies it, but from then on, he didn't really do anything. Every time he got it, he seemed to give it away. And Alexander-Arnold and Gomez and Milner just did a complete number on him. And Liverpool were deserved winners. I think 3-2 flattered PSG. And I'm not sure what Thomas Tuchel was talking about after the game when he was talking about it being an illogical scoreline and it wasn't the correct one. It wasn't the correct one. Liverpool should have won that comfortably 3 or 4. And, what a team Liverpool are now. Any kind of idea that last season was a one-off and a fluke, well, Liverpool have gone a huge way to kind of dispelling that straight away. And as James says, in terms of group games, it's definitely up there. It's considering it was just a group game, it kind of had that feel of a quarter-final or a semi-final. It was just a massive result on a big night.
Mm-hmm. Paul touched upon it there. I was in here last night watching the game, and Steve McManaman, I thought, was going to have a nervous breakdown on commentary. He was going absolute berserk about PSG's work ethic, especially Neymar. So talking of work ethic, we have to talk about him. James Milner just keeps putting in outstanding performances, doesn't he? Yeah. He must be playing the football of his career at the moment, mustn't he?
Oh yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. I think, he's in the form of his life. I thought he was by far and away the best player on the pitch last night. And when you think he didn't cost Liverpool a penny, he not content with just beating Neymar's assist record in the Champions League last season, he outshone the world's most expensive footballer, and he set the tone really. With that crunching tackle early on that left Neymar on his backside close to the halfway line. That not that the atmosphere needed much more energising because it was already electric, but that just lifted the decibel levels still further. And yeah, do you know what? The way that he gets around the pitch at the age of 32 is testament to how well he's led his life and what a model professional he is. Because he's got a lot of miles on the clock, but he's an exceptional athlete. And I noticed probably about 5 or 6 minutes to go, he was kind of touching his toes and just stretching off, I think, a bit of cramp. And I'm not surprised because the stats at the weekend, I think he covered something like 8 miles of ground against Tottenham, more than anyone else on the pitch. And yet to put in another shift like that just 3 days after in a game of that magnitude, just massively impressive. And Milner outstanding, but I'd say Henderson and Wijnaldum not far behind, because that midfield area was complete and utter one way traffic, and that enabled Liverpool to get a grip on proceedings that they never really relinquished. And I think what impressed me a lot as well was you wondered whether that goal just before half time, one of those rare occasions in the game where Liverpool didn't deal with a cross into the box, whether that would dent their belief a little bit. But the way that they came out again in the second half, and there wasn't even any idea or thought about trying to sit back and hold on to what they had. They took the game to PSG, and Milner, Henderson and Wijnaldum epitomised that approach.
Talking the midfield, Paul, if I'd asked you in the summer after Liverpool signed Fabinho and Naby Keita for huge fees, who was in trouble, you could have made a case for any of those three, couldn't you? But the way they've reacted to that extra competition coming in just underlines what great transfer business the Reds have done in the summer, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I think looking at it now, Klopp doesn't have a first choice midfield, does he?
No.
At the moment he's got 5 who are fit and ready to play, and he's got 3 to play them in, and he can quite easily swap and change it, and it doesn't have too much of an impact on the side. I mean, they went to Tottenham with Naby Keita inside and come away with the result. 3 days later, he's not in the team, and Liverpool still managing to beat PSG. And it's great, isn't it? It's what you want to see. Competition all over the pitch, and midfield's an area that I know a lot of people have kind of had a bit of a downer on over the last couple of years. But the defence was the big one, but now they've kind of tightened that up, and then people look at the midfield as not having certain qualities. But looking across it now, every player serves a specific function, and it was just incredible to see Milner yesterday. Milner and Henderson were fantastic. Wijnaldum wasn't far behind them, as James says, and I think it was a big performance for Henderson, because I think we've all talked about him so much, haven't we? And we're all fully fledged members of the Henderson fan club, and sometimes we get stick on social media.
Led by Brexit head.
Of course, yeah. Sometimes we get stick because we are fans of him. We kind of see what he does, whereas some people don't. But there wasn't you couldn't pick fault with that performance from last night. I thought he was immense in such a big game as well. And Milner's just keeping Father Time at bay, isn't he? With the just tireless performances every week. He's just incredible.
Okay, moving on to a different area of the pitch. I was absolutely blown away by both performances from each fullback last night, James. It's hard to put into words how well both Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold playing, and that was probably their biggest test up against Mbappe and Neymar. How impressed were you by the two of them last night? Yeah,
well, I think because they have been just so consistent, probably not that surprised that they coped so well with it. I mean, you think back to May and the performance Trent Alexander-Arnold put in when he had Ronaldo for company in the Champions League final. A game of that stature didn't bother him. He's fearless. We saw it. We've seen it week in, week out from Robertson. So, I suppose the biggest tribute you can pay them is it wasn't a great surprise to see them match up so well. I mean, there was a great moment in that second half when I think it was Mounier was threatening to break through. I think it was still 2-1 at the time, and Robertson, embarked on this mad dash to get there ahead of him. Not only get there ahead of him, but then managed to get his foot around the ball and find a Liverpool shirt, and the cop were chanting his name vociferously. And Robertson's a massive fan's favourite. I think of course he created the goal for Sturridge as well. He was magnificent. With Mbappe for company. I mean, I know Mbappe obviously got the equaliser late on, but that was through no fault of Robertson's. He kept him, a World Cup winner, very quiet. And then on the other flank, another amazing experience for Trent Alexander-Arnold. To have Neymar for company, but again, did everything you'd expect of him, performing with a maturity way beyond his years. And I think L'Équipe. It was interesting looking at their ratings today. I think they dished out plenty of 3s and 4s for the PSG players. They had Robertson as a 7 and Trent Alexander-Arnold was the best player on the pitch as an 8. I wouldn't go that far just because I thought the midfield was where Liverpool won the game. But it shows. I think they described Liverpool's 2 fullbacks as a kid and a stranger in terms of, because obviously outside of the Premier League, they're not, neither of them particularly well known. But they said they were a phenomena in terms of how they performed. And I think the secret about those two is well and truly out. Liverpool fans have known for a long time that this team is blessed with 2 massively gifted fullbacks, and obviously when you show it on a night like that, when you've got Neymar and Mbappe flying at you, their reputations get enhanced, across the globe.
Paul, put something to you. I don't know whether you saw it last night during the game, but Gary Lineker tweeted, I think it was midway through the second half, young Trent Alexander-Arnold is special. Can see him playing 100 games for England, ... in midfield. Do you think? Can you see that happening? We've spoken for a long time about how midfield is perhaps his long-term position.
I don't see why he has to be a midfielder. I don't know why he can't just carry on playing at right back and becoming one of the world's best right backs.
That's good point.
He might move into midfield, and don't get me wrong, he's got the technical ability and the athleticism to become a really good player in central midfield. But I just wonder whether he might be best served staying as a fullback and becoming one of the world's best. What is he, 19?
Yeah.
His rise over the past 12 to 18 months has just been incredible, and it's something that rarely happens at a club the size of Liverpool. You can probably count on one hand the amount of genuine top players that Liverpool have had from the local area in the Premier League era, and he's going to be one of them. He already is. He's starting in a team that's gone to the Champions League final. He's putting in them kind of performances against players like Neymar and Cristiano Ronaldo in the Champions League final, and it's just a joy to watch him every week. So I see no reason why he can't become one of the world's best right backs if he just carries on what he's doing for the next few years.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on again. Plenty made of Mohamed Salah last night. He gave the ball away for PSG's equaliser. James, I know you're thinking of writing something about him today, but have you got any worries about Mohamed Salah's form?
Yeah, worried about his form in general. I think just because he has started the season so slowly. I think I don't know whether it's a confidence issue or what, but you could see he was very, very down when he came off last night. I think for the simple reason that he felt he'd let the team down. He would have taken that mistake very badly. It was a poor misplaced pass that left Liverpool completely exposed a few seconds later. Mbappe equalised, and then to get taken off on the back of that, I think Klopp probably did that because I think he could probably see his head had gone a little bit. But I think you've got to keep it in context because it was always going to be impossible for Salah to live up to what he produced last season, and it's a massive positive the fact that Liverpool are still able to play so well and win games without him. I mean, it's not as if he's not making a contribution. I think we're a million miles off having a discussion about whether he still merits a place in the team.
Yeah,
because Liverpool are a stronger team even with a below par Salah in. Things aren't going for him at the moment, but on another night, that goal was obviously disallowed when Sturridge slid in on Areola, the keeper, and Salah tucked it away. I think certainly the assistant didn't see anything wrong. He raced up to the halfway line, and the referee took his time and ended up disallowing it. I think some referees would have given it, and we'd have been talking about how that goal was great for Salah's confidence. Things just aren't happening for him at the moment, but he's had a lot going on. Whether it's the stuff with the Egypt FA that's affected him, that image rights business, and this stuff about wanting more security, where he's not hassled by fans in the middle of the night, whether that's hurt him or whether it's even a physical thing where he's still, building up trust and strength in his shoulder after after what happened in the Champions League final. You know, a lot has happened to him in a short period of time. With everything was just everything he touched turned to gold for so long. Then the heartache of Kiev. Then a really disappointing World Cup where he played when he clearly wasn't fully fit. Then the issues with the Egypt FA. So, it's not ideal, but what he needs at the moment is people rallying around him. He needs a collective arm around the shoulder, because it will come. He's too good a player to be consistently producing below par performances like we are at the moment. Klopp's big job is to try and get some belief back into him, because he just does seem to have taken a few bad games quite badly and almost like that weighing him down a little bit.
Paul, do you think it's just a case of him perhaps maybe even trying a bit too hard, taking one extra touch, maybe trying to score when he should pass? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think last season he was kind of just doing it on instinct, wasn't he?
Yeah.
You look at so many of the goals and it's just kind of a little bit of magic in the split second and it's a goal, and it's just not happening for him for whatever reason this season. As James points out, there's several kind of mitigating factors that you can make for him. The whole shoulder injury surrounding just in the build up to the World Cup, and then having to basically beat Egypt's one and only star man at the World Cup, and he was injured and just didn't work out for him, and then the whole problem with the national team surrounding it since. So you can make a few cases for him, but I'm not worried long term. I think just persevere, keep doing what he's doing, and eventually he'll beat a man, curl one into the top corner, and all will be right again, and we'll be back to seeing the Mohamed Salah that we all know. I don't think he'll get near the 44 goals he managed last season, but I don't think he's going to be. We're going to see claims of him being a one-hit wonder, or a one-season wonder, because he's too good for that. He's genuinely one of the best players in the world, and it's only be a matter of time before we see that again, I think.
And look, he's not the only one, is he? If you look at Tottenham, Harry Kane has a tremendous year last year and has been struggling ever since the start of the season. The World Cup can take its toll on players, can't it?
Yeah, undoubtedly. And I think the Klopp. It'd be interesting to see how Klopp approaches Saturday now. Because I think this was always going to be the game where he made more changes. In terms of, I think it was always going to be a very similar team that played against Tottenham and then PSG. And then I think those two games, two such intensive contests, both mentally and physically. It'd be interesting to see what he does do with Salah now. Does he think that he would maybe benefit from having a rest, or does he put his faith in a Shaqiri, or does he back him to just maybe think that he just needs a goal against Southampton, just to get him going again? But yeah, you're right. It's not a thing just unique to Liverpool. It's an issue that a lot of top flight managers are wrestling with. I think Pochettino didn't even take Trippier to Italy, did he? This week, and felt that he's been nowhere near his level. So I think sometimes people kind of look for things aren't even there. I know there was a lot of talk about did Salah even celebrate Firmino's winning goal, and I think there was some footage doing the rounds of him throwing a water bottle, and obviously when you actually look at the footage closely, he's got both arms aloft, clearly celebrating when the ball hits the back of the net. So yeah, I don't know, there seems to be an agenda in some places that he's this kind of selfish individual where if he's not the main man, he's not particularly satisfied. But that doesn't tally with anyone who knows him well. How they speak about Mo Salah. He's an incredibly humble, grounded individual who always puts the team first, and of course he wants to contribute. I think he would have been annoyed with himself. He still would have been annoyed with himself in the aftermath of the game, even though Liverpool won, because he will know that Liverpool shouldn't have needed a last gasp winner from Firmino to win that game, because if he'd looked after the ball better 5 or 6 minutes before, Liverpool wouldn't have found themselves having relinquished that lead. But no, I still think Salah's too good to be producing performances like he is at the moment for too long.
Okay, one man who might have played himself into contention for Saturday's game is Daniel Sturridge. Superb performance last night, Paul. How impressed were you by him, and is there any chance he can force his way into that team?
I don't know about long term, but I think he's definitely made a claim to possibly start Saturday. I was amazed.
But who ahead of?
I think I'd just retain him and just play him ahead of Firmino on Saturday. But I was amazed. I mean, I knew it was his first start in the Champions League for Liverpool when he started, because basically he was injured for most of that 14 season, wasn't he, before they went out, and his kind of big European moments have come in the Europa League. But I didn't realise it had been 6 years since his actual last start in the Champions League. For a player of his ability, that's an incredible statistic, and I was shocked by that. But he was in there and he made the most of it. I think everybody knows that he doesn't quite bring what Firmino brings in terms of that pressing from the front and setting the trap with Mane and Salah that we've seen, so often against Tottenham at the weekend. But what he does bring is, half a chance could be a goal with him, and Andy Robertson's absolutely put it on a plate for him, hasn't he? As Robbie Fowler called it, a Buffy ball, and he's just, finished it off 6 yards out.
Buffet
no
ball or a Buffy ball? Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
I don't know.
Help yourself.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. But it's just
Buffy ball.
Buffy ball.
A buffet.
Yeah. Buffet.
How do we say it? But yeah, he put it right into the 6-yard box, didn't he? And he's finished it off. And I thought he was good. I think he might have played himself into contention for Saturday, because Liverpool play Chelsea twice next week, and Firmino might be needed, certainly be needed for the league game, and he might even be called upon for the League Cup. So why not give Sturridge a run out? He's clearly he's going to be thriving off that performance.
It was great to see, because when you think back to the back end of last season, like most people, I thought in May, that obviously that was it for Sturridge. He'd leave in the summer. And you thought, what a sad end to what should have been, could have been, one of the great Liverpool careers. When you think of the way that he started life at Liverpool, the way that he performed with Suarez in 2013-14, to never ever get close to that again, and then for his Liverpool career to end with half the season on loan at West Brom, with them getting beat every week, him being injured, not being able to contribute, getting relegated. You just thought, and we were almost talking about where does he go from there? Who possibly takes a chance on him? Because no top club would have paid decent money for him. I remember, Liverpool were talking about how they were looking at kind of £15 million for him, and even that you scoffed at for a player with his fitness record and someone who was entering the last year of his contract. And so to see what he's done since then, it is brilliant. It's a great story. And it's testament to his attitude and his not wanting to chuck in the towel. I think maybe he realised when he was away at West Brom what he actually had at Liverpool, and realised that if I do leave there, I'm only going one way and it's down. I think it probably opened his eyes a little bit, and he put in a huge amount of hard graft over the summer to get himself fit. And I remember when he walked out of Chester for the first pre-season friendly, you were like, is that Sturridge? Because it was he just looked like a different man in terms of how lean and strong and fit he looked. And then he backed that up with performances in pre-season. And I think the big thing last night was, I wondered whether just the lack of match action he's had might have gone against him, because I felt for him a little bit going into a game that big. I think I jotted it up. I think over the first 5 Premier League games he played 21 minutes. So you think, despite him having a great pre-season, it was a big ask to get thrown into that. But his touch was good. He linked play well. His movement was decent. Stretched PSG's front line. He's never going to give you the pressing that Firmino does, but he did a fantastic job for the team. And it was great to hear Klopp afterwards singing his praises and saying, he's repaid my faith 100%, because you kind of wondered where that relationship was going a few times over the last few years, with niggling injuries here and there, and there was always this feeling that Sturridge was never, even when fit, was never really the right fit for Klopp. But I think he's shown now he can adapt, and still I think Firmino's understudy, but that's not a bad place to be.
Yeah, we've heard a lot of times, haven't we, about Sturridge that he's now finally fully fit. But I have to say, last night I thought not just his goal, but his all-round game was very good. He held the ball up well. He looked strong. He does look fitter than he has done for a long time, doesn't he, Paul?
Yeah, undoubtedly. You've only got to look over the last 3 years, it might even be 4 years at this stage, and just tot up the amount of injuries that he's had. And it is great to see him finally, get a prolonged run in not the team but the squad. See him on the bench every week and just know that he's an option there, and it's not he's carrying a bit of a knock, and he's only on there to make up the numbers, and he's not going to be called upon because fit and firing, he's a superb option to have, and there was no bigger evidence in it than last night when he played against Paris Saint-Germain, perennial Champions League heavyweights, and he's there opening and scoring, and it's great to see, and I think he just offers so much more quality than Liverpool had last season with the likes of Dominic Solanke. No disrespect to him, he's a young striker still learning his trade, but to have someone of Sturridge's calibre in waiting if Firmino ever drops out is just a huge bonus for Jurgen Klopp to have, and we've seen it last night.
Yeah. All right, we will leave it there. This was meant to be a shorter podcast. There's so much to discuss. We'll be back with our regular Blood Red podcast on Friday. I will ask that if you do enjoy our podcasts to review them, to rate them, and to subscribe to them on Spotify, iTunes, or Acast, wherever you do listen to them. If you don't enjoy our podcast, well, one, I'm surprised you got to the end of it, and two, don't say anything. Just
keep
stay
quiet.
out of it. Yeah, keep quiet. Thanks for listening. Do tune in on Friday, and we'll speak to you then. Goodbye.